Hi, I'm James from Nicol Co. I'm the lettings manager here, and I'm here today just to talk about what we do in terms of the letting and the services that we put together for you for the letting and the management of your property. Starting really from property launch. So we may have been out to see you already. We would have appraised your property for you, given you a up-to-date valuation on what it might be worth to let, and also given some detail on your legal requirements, i.e. you're making sure you've got valid gas safety, electrical safety and energy performance certificates and similar items. And the next stage really is how we go about launching the property for you and getting the advert together. So we would book in with you professional photography. We have a professional photographer who is in-house, who would attend and complete that work, put together some really good shots, which we then spend a little bit of time editing afterwards and getting right, in addition to a full professional floor plan. We have the option of additional services in terms of drone reel footage and things like that to really add value to the advertisement. And then we look to advertise the property, likes of the big one being Rightmove, Facebook, social media, and our website, of course, which gets a lot of traction as well. So you can expect the property to be well advertised in the right places. We work very closely with our applicants, and as such expect to have quite a few leads already in the pipeline for you before we get going 90% of the time, at which point we would call upon anybody relevant. But a lot of the work also goes in really making sure that we're pre-qualifying them and getting the detail down as to who is right, and it can often be the case that detail in the advertising is what leads to the right person. So how we approach the pre-qualification process, getting the right tenant for you, we recognise is a really key critical factor and really important. And we put a lot of work into this to make sure that we get it right and we do it to the best possible standard. It starts with the pre-viewing process. We've really looked at this, and we've looked at how we can make it quicker for a landlord to let their property with sort of less hassle, and how to pre-qualify at an earlier rate so that you know before your viewing who's coming round. And how we've done that is we've put together a live stream process. So now for every single time we advertise a property, we do a walk around video tour within roughly 48 hours after the initial advert has gone live. And that allows us to engage with prospective viewers early. It goes out on social media. We ask them to engage and download an app so they can watch it that way. And we also ask for preliminary application forms from them, so that before we've actually got to the point booking in the viewings, we know a reasonable amount about them. What's their credit history roughly like, their employment status, who would be moving in, whether or not there's any pets, whether any of them are smokers, all of those sorts of sort of key questions that are of concern to a lot of landlords. So we can then have that discussion with you and then book in the viewings that suit you, as opposed to any viewing for any person if it's not quite right for the property. Once we've got that nailed and we've carried out the viewing, if you're happy with that prospective person and they are happy also, we then look at how we put together the full application process. And it's really important then that preliminary information that we've taken down is cross-checked. So we work with a partner referencing company who help us make sure a full credit history is ran. They will contact the employer to confirm the earnings are what they say they are, and also previous address history. If they've rented before, there's a good opportunity there for us to find out how that process has gone. Have they paid their rent on time? Have they kept the property in good order? And that's again part and parcel of the process for us in finding out before we get your tenant moved in. If they get green lights from the referencing and everything passes as it needs to, you're in a strong position then to look at any insurances that you want to. We can offer a rent guarantee insurance should you wish to. The best part about that is that referencing report allows you to know that you're secure and you're covered, and you can get that with ease and with confidence. So it's really useful to have and very important. We like to go into finer detail on the referencing, i.e. if there's any anomalies that could come up, we will discuss them with you. We will give our best advice, and I think that being a trusted advisor with the referencing is really important. It would be easy to move somebody in with certain concerns, but they've passed referencing, and it's really important with us that we go with full disclosure and make sure you're fully aware of all of the detail. On to the actual move-in process itself. We've developed an online signatory arrangement. We send the contract to you to review, and then we can typically sign on your behalf, or you can sign it depending on your preference. The tenant is able to sign it remotely, and they pay all of their move-in money via bank transfer to us, and you would expect that we would take the first month's rent, the tenancy deposit, which is equivalent to 5 weeks' rent, and then from there, under a management service, we would naturally put that into the approved government scheme that we work with and make sure that that is secured and protected in the right way with the correct documentation served to avoid any risk of fine on your part as landlord. Additionally, under a management service and on any other service really, we would always recommend an inventory is completed, and by default on management we do it every time, and that is again working with a third party. We put together a full report for you of the overall condition of the property, from its cleanliness to the condition of the inside of the cooker, for example, right through to the general decor condition, and that is really, really important as evidence for your deposit when you get to the end of the tenancy. Once they're in and settled and we've handed over the keys, we've paid you your first month's rent, you can expect to receive a monthly statement from us with income and expenditure, so you can keep easy track of what's coming in and what's going out, and at any time you can request a statement for a fixed period as well, so we can provide you with a breakdown. So it's always really useful to have that, particularly if you're doing an annual tax return or something like that. We can quite easily get that together for you. If the rent is coming in, we monitor when that's coming in and do a transfer via backs to you as landlord, and if for whatever reason there is any concern over potential rent arrears, we're on the ball with chasing that, and we have a specific procedure and process in order to that we follow in order to make sure that we get that right. We also have a panel of contractors for repairs and maintenance, so if for whatever reason you've got, I don't know, a boiler breakdown or a similar issue, we have somebody on hand who would be able to help not only on a day-to-day basis but also on an emergency basis. Our phone lines are always open, so if we're not in the office and it's outside of office hours, we have an outside hours partnership that help us out there. For example, if the tenant's got water pouring through the ceiling, you can rest assured that if it's 10 o'clock at night, we'll still find a way of doing our best to get it resolved, or at least to make the matter safe for you. We've got all of the maintenance elements covered as well, and you could expect during a tenancy that we would regularly inspect the property. We would get an idea of how the tenant's keeping it. It's an opportunity for your tenant to just make sure that they're happy with everything and how things are going. They can sort of freely go over any queries that they've got with us, and likewise at the same time we'll provide you with a report with photos of the condition of the property, and you can have some assurances that it's being upheld during. And then beyond that, obviously when a tenancy comes to a close, you've got the closure of the deposit to think about, and again under the management service we handle that process to make sure that if there's any dispute you don't need to worry about it, it's in hand, we've got it covered. That's a very brief sort of overview of the services that we're offering and what we can do for you. We can provide our fee details on request, and you'll also be able to find similar on the website, and if you've got any queries, give us a call.